The story of Noah, the ark, the flood, and the rainbow is not something that is anywhere near new to us. We've learned about it since we were infants. Yet we come to it today in a new light. Today we start this new worship journey through the narrative lectionary, a movement through Genesis and into Revelation, in the flow of the life and the story of God, Jesus, and us Christians. And today we point out the beautiful story, and as somebody told me, the love story between God and us. We look at the world today and all these horrible things that continuously keep happening. The wars that are fighting, the hatred that's going on, the dividing issues of every kind, the power struggles, the endless horror that we see constantly, the flooding that takes out cities, the mudslides, the tornadoes, hurricanes. And all these different things came to my mind, and then I asked myself, if this is how bad it is right now, how bad was it for Noah's time? That God was that angry, that there was such chaos that was going on. How much wickedness was it then that enraged God so deeply? We start today in Genesis 6. So 6 chapters into the very beginning of this love story between God and us. And yet, with 6 chapters in, we're 1,100 years from the creation of people. We are 1,100 years since God first created Adam. 10 generations. 10 generations of people, God's people, doing things to God's creation that caused God to question whether his creation was worthy of being part of God's world. And then in the blink of all of that, God sees Noah. The Bible never tells us, nor do any philosophers or theologians or any people that have tried to study this, no one can say what Noah was doing or how God noticed what this guy Noah was doing that caught God's attention, except for that he was a righteous and faithful man. And in that moment of his anger and frustration in his creation, he sees Noah. He sees why he wanted to create people. But yet God was still so enraged that he took it to the step of, we need a blank slate. We need to start over. And he had Noah build this ark and take 2 of every kind, the animals, the birds, the creepy crawlies, every kind of living thing, and put it into the ark so all creation can continue once again after he destroys it all. He wanted to make sure to preserve and protect his first creation. We get to the 40 days after the flooding and to the pursuit of the dry lands. And then God does something that is so important for us still to the day. God made a covenant, a promise, a one-sided promise to never flood the earth again, to never destroy in one sweep all of creation. This covenant started in the days of Noah and is still with us today. God promised me to never destroy the earth. God promised you that he would never flood the earth and destroy all again. when we read these stories of what God is doing and this action that is going on, remember, instead of the person, put yourself there. God promised you. And that promise is shown still today, thousands and thousands of years later, with the rainbow in the sky. A few years ago, on the 4th of July, it had been raining all day. This is 2 days about after our daughter Sadie got home from Luther Park Bible Camp. And in the middle of all this rain and then playing in the puddles, the sky starts to part and a perfect rainbow goes from one side to the other. And it almost looked like it was directly over us. And you could almost see where it was down on the ground. And Sadie stops in her tracks and says, "Look, there's the promise that God loves us forever." Catching both of us off guard and everybody around us, we weren't sure what to do with it. That statement was so powerful. And that rainbow was of perfection. They had learned the Noah story and how true it is for all of us still today. That when we doubt, when we question what's going on, wait for the rain, because you'll see the rainbow. And that's the promise that God loves you and is with you. This symbol in the sky, over 4,000 years ago, this promise for each and every one of us personally is what God is telling us today. We start this new lectionary, this narrative that we go through the hearts and minds of what God is doing for us, for me, for you, for all people. In all the ways of the wickedness of humankind, which never changed, not even a year after the flood was done, things were happening again. But God's promise never changes. God never stops showing us the beauty and the love that he brings. Through the storms of the sea to the waters of the sky, as Jesus calms the sea and saves the boat, we are saved, and we know that the love that we have is always visible when the clouds part and the rainbow shows. Amen. Our hymn of the day today is "Precious Lord, Take My Hand."